I was thinking about belts because I had to physically go pick up new belts. And what belts do, what they are. Belts are just a piece of cloth. That's all they are. They're just a piece of cloth. Doesn't matter, boy belt, black belt, purple belt, whatever they are, just a piece of cloth. But for what we do, they represent a lot. They represent years and years and years of commitment, years and years and years of injuries and expense and frustration and every negative thing you can imagine. But at the same time, they represent years and years of commitment that have taken you to a place very few people ever get to go. Everybody here has been committed. You're here for, in some cases, I have people who are in 2 classes, pretty fundamentals. And I have people who've been here for, Ryan and I think we're at 28 years in Jiu-Jitsu or Judo and 24 years in Jiu-Jitsu. And so it's everything in between that. And it's just years and years of, while all that other frustrating stuff happens and all that stuff is in those belts, inside these belts also is years and years of incredibly positive stuff. Friendships and relationships. Everybody will tell you, I'll tell you this anytime you're going to ask. I have 2 friends left in my life who I consider important friends to me who don't come to this room. And there are people I've just been friends with for so long I can't get rid of them. And I mean, my whole community is here. If you walk in, even the no-gi people, I would usually say if you had to put on a gi, but okay, no-gi people too. But if you come here and you come out on the mat and you become part of what we do, then you become part of my family. And that's it. I can't, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter anything else, you become part of a family that you can't get rid of. You can leave. And sometimes you have to leave. Life gets in the way. I've had probably 1,000 people come to this gym. We have less than 100 left right now. So we've lost lots and lots of people. And that's what happens. Sometimes it's because life got in the way. Sometimes it's because something happened, they had to change, they stopped, whatever, millions of other different reasons. And that is why making it all the way to here is such a thing. And that's why we kind of want to celebrate when somebody does make it. Because for Joy, what did we decide? It was 11 and 3/4. So that's a long time to do anything. I mean, how many people can have relationships that last that long? Like partner relationships, but jobs, any number of other things. Many people don't live in a city that long. That's 11 and a half years. Peter came here with us from the old school where we were, but he only did judo then, but he came here and he joined right away. So he was here since November 2010 rather. So that's 13 years of work, 13 years of jiu-jitsu, even longer coming in judo time. All within these walls. If you watch the Osagami site, there's a video of us literally making the room, painting and stuff. Peter's there. He's on giant stuff, painting high stuff that nobody else can reach. And he signed a waiver, thank God. So, but these belts, they mean something really important. They're just a piece of cloth, so they should. But what they represent is all the time, all the money, all the frustration, some of the highest highs in your life will be while you're wearing that belt. And some of the most frustrating, annoying, disappointing, in some cases painful things in your life will be while you're wearing that belt. And all that stuff kind of becomes part of it. And that's one of the reasons I don't wear my belt. I don't wash my belt, Joy. So, wash your belt if you want, I don't. Because all that stuff is in there for me, and it matters. So belts mean a lot. And all they are is representations. They're representations of an incredible amount of stuff. And things that are great and wonderful and frustrating and difficult and expensive and painful. And it's all in there. So when someone goes all the way from beginning to end, and makes that long journey, it's really an important thing. So we're going to do this thing one at a time. So Peter, come on, where's Peter? Oh, Peter, always hiding in there. Promotions in general. Judo promotions, I got promoted to black belt in judo in like 5 years, I think, and we were promoted early, but we didn't have any control of it. We were promoted, and because we kind of broke their system, the system that we had and under, it was how often did you compete? You compete a lot, you get promoted super fast. We competed constantly. We broke the system, and then that system was actually broken enough to where the system changed. They didn't do it that way anymore. Our instructor Art changed it after that, but we got promoted too fast. because of what we did. All right, that was us. But that was 5 years, sometimes judo, 6 years, whatever it is. Jiu-Jitsu, this is 12 and a half, almost 13 years with Peter. So for those of you who don't know, when we first started down here, we brought the judo club, and we had 15 people maybe in judo, and it was maybe 16 or 17, whatever it was, and we had a judo club, and we started a Jitsu club. I was a brown belt at the time, and we were teaching Jiu-Jitsu, and it was a new club. When you start a new club, what's the hardest thing? Getting your first student. The first person is the beginning. And when we started, Peter was the first person to say, I'm going to do Jiu-Jitsu too. I'm going to do it all the time. And I had Saturday class in particular. Other classes during the week, people here for judo, so they stayed. Saturday was only Jiu-Jitsu. And I get in here, I look around, and Peter will walk in. And it was an hour and a half, me and Peter. Peter likes to ask questions. Peter has questions. And we worked on stuff. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. Peter, I would talk about his questions. I would teach something random, whatever it was, came from it, and we'd roll, and we'd train, and back and forth for an hour and a half. It was like the old days when Ronnie and I would go to Friday or Sunday, and it was just the two of us, and we'd work, and we'd talk, and we'd figure stuff out, and we'd train, we'd have fun. It was awesome. I had a great time. It saved the Jiu-Jitsu program, because without that, I would have gotten frustrated and said, I guess we're just a judo program. But Peter kept it going, and we had another person, and another person, and another person, and here we are. I want to say, I think Dave may have been the next consistent person who didn't come out of the judo program. So good job by Dave. Nice work. Dave has taken a couple of breaks.
A little bit, here and there.
But Dave is still awesome. He's going to make it. So Peter made the Jiu-Jitsu program possible by keep coming in. He would come in and show up, and we'd talk and have a good time. And I kept loving Jiu-Jitsu, even though I wasn't doing a lot of it with anybody else. We sit there in the week and stuff. And then we had a body, and then another, and now we are. So Peter really did keep the program alive when it was at risk. So it was really, really important, his participation. Over the years, Peter has really become somebody who is here. He lets himself kind of hang out in the back, and he'll take anybody. You can have the biggest, craziest, strongest monster come in, and I go, well, Peter, why don't you? Let's see how crazy this dude is. Peter, what do you think? Sure, no problem. And Peter will handle it and do his thing, and he'll play, and he'll have a good set. Or I can have a new partner. Man, I got all crazy people. I got to find somebody who I can trust to let this new person work and teach and help them. Peter. So the ability to have somebody who can go from that one end to the opposite end of the spectrum and play with anybody in between and have fun himself and have a productive set is such a great thing for an instructor to have. And it's a great attitude to have. You know, when you can go in and have a good time, no matter what part of the set you're doing, whether you're the bug, whether you're the windshield, whether you could be one or the other, you choose not to be, it's really important to be able to do that. So Peter has been just a wonderful friend, a great person in our club, and one of the real cogs that has made this club even possible. So I could not be more happy and proud to welcome Peter to change this last color change, unless you make the red belt one day. Or you come back to judo, get your black belt there. Facing it just in case. Pretty even. Yes. Peter, would you like to say anything? It's up to you.
I just want to say one thing. You talked about the relationship aspect. I'll say just this. The only reason I keep on coming in is for each and every one of you. Because, yes, it's just a lot of fun for an old man to come in and be with people who understand what it is this is. Whatever it is. It's a lot of fun. When I first came to judo, the instructor at the time, Art, he said that the people that you're with will eventually become your family. And it's true. It really is. And it's like I said, it's just about relationships. That's what kept me coming in. One other thing, I wouldn't have made it without some people. I wouldn't have made it without Ray. He always says when there's a bell change, don't say thank you. I have no choice. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have this. It's just that simple. Ray, Art, Alma, the guys from the judo club that Friday around the door like Lee, James Gaither, Joe Chu. Yeah, I wouldn't be here without them. Matt, I mean, Eric, one of the smartest jiu-jitsu people I actually know. I'm just, it's good to know people. That's the whole point. So, thanks to every one of you, and let's have some more fun.
Thanks, Peter. One of the most I've ever heard you talk to. Nice job. It was very good. All right, so come up, Joy. So. Joy's been, I've known Joy for a lot longer than she's been training. Many years longer than that. She would come with Lee to different events we had at the judo club. We'd go to the Las Vegas lounge, and she was there, and I knew she was a person, sort of. I mean, she didn't train, so she didn't wear a gi, so she was kind of maybe, sort of. But she was almost a person. But she was nice and friendly, and I knew who she was and stuff, and I would bug people. Because everybody who's been around, but you know, just feel, hey, you're new, you're attached, you're so-and-so's partner and stuff. You know what you should probably do? You should come do jiu-jitsu. And at the time, it was judo, but you know, now it's usually jiu-jitsu, because I can get you into jiu-jitsu, and then I can nudge you into judo, too. So, and I would bug her every once in a while, just because that's what I did. It was my thing. But she would always say no. And she'd say, no. Then we came down here, and we had a smaller group, and I had a lot more control of the kind of club that it was going to be. Because we had a club, when I first got up here, the club was a snake pit. It was, I've told you before, man, every time you decided to go into the Maxercise Jiu-Jitsu club, you walked up the stairs going, you could be on the way to the hospital, and it was not unlikely. It was not unusual to have somebody carry your help down the stairs and take you directly to the emergency room. That kind of thing happened. You walked up knowing what you were getting into and choosing to do. I also chose when we went to here, and when I came to the judo club, it was the same way. We were working on a mat that was this thick. It was a gymnastics mat that said 1974 on the back, on top of a wooden basketball floor. And there were gaps this big where there was just plastic covering. There was no mat. And the black belts at the time would put tape on them. And it wasn't tape to warn you, it was tape so they could charge you. So it was bad. And they were all about 25, and they all were really good, and they were all loved to beat up on people. And they made a point. I told them the other night. There was one made a point. Said, I'm not learning your name for 6 months. It's unlikely that I'm ever going to see you that long. So why would I bother knowing your name? So that was the kind of place we came from. And that was the place I didn't want. And that was the place I want a hard place where people train hard and do well. But I don't want a place where everybody's out for themselves and only for that. It's not what we are. And when Joy came around a little bit, and now we're down here, and Lee's coming around and doing some other things, I think she kind of tell that the vibe of the room had changed. And I bugged her a little bit, and she volunteered, all right, I'll try the fundamentals things. We're in fundamentals. We started fundamentals. And it was such a better way to get people in. And so she was one of my very first early fundamentals classes. I mean, it was, we said July?
August 2011.
August 2011. So the fundamentals program has started in January, and the first crew that came out of it was like, whatever that was, June, July, was the very first people to come out of fundamentals. Juana, maybe, whoever else was there. Some people remember back in the day. So anyway, we had a few people there, and Joy said, okay, I'll give it a try. And she jumped in, and she had fun, right? It was good. Wow, this is more fun than I expected. And then she came out, and she did some judo, and she did jiu-jitsu, and she started competing. And then she won matches. And then she went to world masters, and she won matches, and she went to the IBJJF, and she won matches, and then she's a blue belt, and then she's a purple belt, and then she's a brown belt. And they're coming up when we were, there were not, I mean, there was a much bigger jiu-jitsu community that we had in Philadelphia, we did a lot of places as well, though. And there were not that many at the time brown belt women making it that far. Because at that point, you had to be 5, 6, 7, 8 years in. That means you had to start a long time ago and not quit, not give up. And so she was doing it, and all of a sudden she's working her way through the process. And all of a sudden she's finding her way. She's finding her particular place in the jiu-jitsu world. You know, hey, we're all getting older. You see, I don't train like I used to. I don't train as hard or as often as I used to. Joy's making her spots, and she's trying to find her way. And she bit down on this idea of, I would like to help work on becoming an instructor and teaching a lot. And she stepped into this role of helping me and covering for me, pretty often sometimes, in fundamentals and knowing everybody, be part of the early face for people who come in of the club. One of the reasons I teach fundamentals, and I always have, and I'll never give it away until I stop doing this. My last class may be teaching fundamentals. Whenever I walk off the mat the last time, it might be when I walk off my last fundamentals class. Because I think when someone new comes into the club, I want them to know that I'm invested in them. And now, Joy's like, I want them to know that I'm invested in them too. And committed to helping them get better, having good experience, involved in coming into the community. I don't want blue belts to do that, where most clubs have them. I don't want purple belts to do it. Purple belts should still be invested in themselves. Blue belts, like it or not, are going to be invested in themselves. Brown belts begin to be able to work for other people. And that's where Joy was. And she said, I'd like to find my spot. And she did. She found a spot as just the best person I've ever had helping me teach fundamentals. Lots of people can do lots of jiu-jitsu. But Joy teaches me exactly what I want. She said, I'm going to become good at this, and I'm going to be able to cover it. I don't worry about class anymore. Like, I had jiu-jitsu, look up around, I have a ton of people who cover jiu-jitsu class for me. I have a ton of people who cover judo class for me. Fundamentals is kind of a problem because I'm weird about it. I want it done the way I want it done. I don't want you to teach your version. I want you to teach it the way I need it taught because that's what makes fundamentals work. And so when I'm doing it, Joy said, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do it all the time. I'm going to come in just to come in and help and do it over and over again. And now she can teach fundamentals exactly like I do. And she does most of the things exactly the way I would. Some things she maybe probably did better, teaches better. So she found a path all the way from the beginning, all these years. Competitor, winning medals, winning worlds, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, all these things. And when you're here a long time, you gotta find something to keep doing, or you get bored and you don't know what to do next. And she really found her path. She found her way. So she's, beyond all the rest of the stuff, she's really become one of the critical assistant instructors in the club, which is not an easy thing to do with all these people who are kind of technically nominally ahead of her in line. But she found her path, she took it, and she said, she stepped into it and said, I'm gonna make this mine, and she has. So that was a huge assistant for me. Now she's learned a bunch of stuff, she can teach a bunch of stuff, and is just one of the most important people. And then she said, look, this Friday night open mat thing, it's not going anywhere, people aren't really using it, nobody's taking ownership of it. I'm gonna take ownership of it. I will make it mine. And I will bug people to come in, I will remind them how important it is. When they're there, I will make sure they have good training sessions, I will make sure everybody gets good sets, I will make sure people don't get hurt. I will take control of a whole mat full of people doing completely different crazy things, from beginning fundamentals people, wherever I knew friends were, they were over there, they said they were into like learning triangles last night. I even taught them triangles in fundamentals. Joy had taught them last night, and they were doing really well today. Up to people doing kickboxing, up to people doing judo, up to people throwing each other crash pad. They're all over each other, and I'm not even here because I trust Joy to make sure the room doesn't go crazy and get people hurt. So she's just been such a blessing for me in terms of making the club work well. So that's just the club stuff. She's also one of my best friends and confidants and giving me great advice about what the room needs and what the club needs and what the women's program needs. And she's come to me as a representative of them and said, this person is good and we need more about this and this will help this. And she's really done an incredible job making the club as a whole better, investing in herself in the community, just to give back and give back and give back over and over and over again. And when it comes down to the end of the day, when you're talking about how you make a successful club, it's people like Joy that make it possible to have a club. If you have a bunch of people on the top who are trying to, how much can they squeeze out of everybody else? What can I take? What can I take? What can I take? you're going to have a club that's full of takers. And that's not the place I want. I want the place that everybody's trying to make everybody else successful and you. And Joy is one of the people who sets the tone and makes all of that possible. So beyond all the great jiu-jitsu that she's done, all the medals that she's won, all the promotions that she's gone through, all the students that she's helped teach, she's also my really good friend, and I want to congratulate her. But go ahead and change this for you. Oh, there we go.
Ray actually did something, so he talked a little bit about how he got me involved. I was just the judo girlfriend. And Beth used to have people routinely, prior to COVID, over to her home on Friday nights, and so she would invite Lee over, and Ray would tolerate me. He would sit there and talk to Lee, and then every once in a while he would realize there was another person at the table and say something. But one of the things he did when he first opened up this club is that in order to convince people to come when they had no earthly idea what was happening, is he would come in on a one-on-one. And he convinced me one day to do this, and I think he probably just didn't have any students, he had anything else to do. And he taught me an ogoshi, a triangle, and a self-defense technique. And back then, I was probably 20 pounds lighter than I am now. And I was 36 years old. And he taught me how to throw him in an ogoshi, and to slap a triangle on him. I was hooked. I was in the next class, and I haven't stopped since. Those of you who know me personally know I work in IT, so I had to run some numbers. Not only has it been 11 3/4 of a year, I did an average of how many hours of my life have I spent in this room. It's around 4,500. All right, so if you're wondering how long does it take to get one of these, for you I hope that number is lower or higher, whatever your path may be. Ray talked a little bit about what my path was. I just mentioned I came in here when I was in my late 30s. I didn't know what I was.
36 is mid.
Whatever lets you sleep tonight.
I'm 56 in a couple of weeks. I want to be
Sure. My stepson had just graduated from high school. He was in college. I was at kind of a transition point in my career. I didn't have any hobbies because everything was about being a stepmother. So I needed something else to do, and this became my something else. Lee was right there with me. We were in classes together. We were going to tournaments together. When I look around this room, I have memories from almost everybody that I'm looking at. And some of those memories go back so far. This guy over here, we competed at World Masters together when I was a blue belt. Lee and I competed at World Masters together a year later when I was a blue belt. We also did an amazing Grand Canyon camping trip after that, where we accidentally left our gis in the car for like 3 days in the Arizona sun. That was so fun. So it's just an amazing amount of memory. Like, you know, this guy over here in the corner, he ogoshied me in the Atlantic Ocean after battle at the beach. Sure, absolute jerk. Lori over here, who was filming this, she and I don't even know how many tournaments we've been together. Dave, I don't know how many tournaments we've been to together. Eric Silverman, I don't even know how many hours I've spent being instructed by you. Beth, who I started with and essentially annihilated, and is still my friend. You know, we talk about the wear and the tear on our bodies. You know, I injured Beth, and she recovered, and she is still here on these mats, and I am a better person for that because of her forgiveness of that situation and my understanding and growth around this is a dangerous sport. I did something wrong and I learned from that. And it was really hard. And she was right there with me as I learned that lesson. And I'm sure she had her own takeaways from that whole experience. As did her husband, who got to nurse her through said injury. Dewana, the name we were all giggling about earlier, that was mine. She was the first person that injured me. And I'm still here, and I'm still walking around. My purple white ears, my idiot self decided that I was going to grad school. The frick was I thinking? I went to grad school. I essentially stopped competing. Started to have some back problems that are congenital, they have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. Started having some back problems, chronic pain issues, which led to depression, anxiety, all of the things that go around that. And as Ray said, I went to him and I was like, what am I doing? I walked in here as, somebody who had no direction in my life, and my direction was I competed. I got a box full of hardware. And some of it I earned just because I paid an entry fee because there was nobody else in my division. And some of it I wrecked somebody for it. And I will happily tell you those stories as we learn the techniques. I was like, oh, what do I do now? I can't compete anymore. I went to grad school and my body's messed up and my head's not in this anymore. What do I do? And he talked to me and he counseled me and we spent like a month or so figuring out what this thing was. What was the place that I could have in this club? And to his point, I bit down on that. And when I look around this room, when I think about myself as a blue belt, I was very much one of those people that was like, I don't even fucking name. Like, who are you? And I bit down on that. I know every single one of you. And I have had a conversation with every single one of you. And I care about every single one of you. And what I want you to take away from me yammering at you right now is that I care about you. And I hope that the experience that you have in this club is as positive for you as my experience here has been for me. And that I hope for you that you not only learn judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever your sport may be, but that you also grow the relationships and the maturity and the wisdom that comes from doing all the crazy, crazy stuff in the gym. The last thing I'm going to say is there is a woman out there who runs a list of the black belt women in Central and North America. It's self-reported, so I'm sure there's a margin of error, but I pulled that list down a couple of weeks ago and I did a count. It's fewer than 720 women. Again, there's margin of error, but I feel confident in saying that there are fewer than 1,000 women in the United States right now that have just earned what I just earned. And to be able to join the ranks because of the support of the people in this group, because of Ray, because of Eric, because of Lee, because of Ronnie, because of my friends here, it is so incredibly meaningful to me. Thank you all. Now, one more thing, because there's always one more thing. And I almost forgot what I did. I know you were late. That's you're always late. Always. I did want to recognize, again, the meaningfulness of this club for me. As a milestone, and a way for me to contribute to this club as this club has contributed to me. I would like to gift the club a USB, Bluetooth, portable sound speaker that is fully charged and ready for us to
Always Mongolian rock, right?
Always Mongolian rock.
Would any of the black belts like to say anything? You are free to do so. You are not required to.
Yeah, I will briefly.
Alright.
Just to clarify the record, Joy actually started jiu-jitsu before I did. Because I didn't start until maybe later that fall, and she was one of the inspirations for me to start. I had a bit of a head start because I had a black belt in judo at the time and done a lot of mat work, even though I wasn't particularly good at it. And so, I picked up and, I was a blue belt before long. I guess what I'd say is a lot of you on that side of the room know and everybody on this side of the room knows that it takes a lot to last this long. There are a lot of injuries, not to scare anybody off, but it's a combat sport and, you bang stuff up. Sometimes the disappointments, you win matches and it's great, and sometimes you lose those matches and it's just crushing. And some people can't take it. Physically, that's actually the easier part. It's the mental part. It's the learning to survive mentally, having your ass kicked and coming back. It's not for everybody. I think jujitsu is for anybody can do jujitsu, but it's not for everybody. And one of the reasons, like Ray's talking about, sometimes it's hard not to have an attitude of, I'm not going to learn your name till you've been here for a while, because I've met a lot of people that I really liked, and they stayed for a year or two, and they went away. And it's kind of sad, just like my friend is no longer here. And it's hard not to develop that attitude, but I try not to. So I just want to say congratulations to Peter and Joy for hanging out this long, and I hope all of you do too.
Anybody else? Not even on.
I'd like to subscribe.
Eric.
It has just, and not a long speech, I just want to say that it has been such a pleasure watching you guys come up. We've said it, repeated it. One of the things that this sport, whether it's judo or jiu-jitsu, teaches you is just how to keep moving forward, how to just keep grinding through the tough stuff, right? And to get all the way to black belt is just not easy. There's so much time, there's so many reasons to leave. Life gets in the way, jobs get in the way, family gets in the way, injuries get in the way, ego gets in the way. To drive through all of that, and to just keep coming, it's no easy thing. And it's a major accomplishment, and I'm really proud to see you guys keep moving forward with it. Thank you.
We're good? Okay. All right. Well, awesome. Like I said, because I have no idea what the actual schedule is, we now have time to do some black belt sets. So we're going to have, once again, an extremely full room at this point. If